If you're dealing with those embarrassing leaks, the ones that hit when you laugh at a joke, when you stand up from a chair, when you cough on a cold morning, stop blaming yourself. It isn't your age. It isn't weak muscles. And it isn't something you have to just live with, no matter how many doctors in white coats have told you otherwise. It's a single signal your bladder stopped receiving, sometime in your 40s. A signal my grandmother knew how to restart when I was 9 years old, using one bitter seed that grows wild on the slopes behind our village. It costs less than a cup of coffee, and the reason you've never heard of it is the same reason your prescriptions never actually fix anything. Somebody in a glass office in New Jersey is making $14 billion a year, keeping you exactly where you are. You feel it every single day. You stand at the mirror, and you can still see her, the woman who hiked mountain trails without a second thought, who danced at her daughter's wedding until the band packed up, who chased a grandchild barefoot across the yard and didn't think twice. Now, you map every errand around bathrooms. You say no to coffee with Linda because the risk feels too big. You cross your legs before the joke lands, and at night in the dark, the same thought circles back. What did I do wrong? You did nothing wrong. They lied to you. The Kegels were never going to work, not because you didn't do them right, but because they were aimed at the wrong thing entirely. The pads weren't a solution. They were a subscription. And those smiling seniors in absorbent underwear commercials? They weren't selling you dignity. They were selling you surrender. But here's what nobody in that industry wants you to imagine. 11 days from now, you could stand up from your chair without the calculation. You could laugh at your husband's terrible joke and feel nothing but the laugh. You could say yes to the coffee, yes to the road trip, yes to dancing at the next wedding, and the only thing on your mind would be which song they play next. That's not a fantasy. That's what happens when you stop covering the symptom and finally hit the root. And the root, the real reason your bladder forgot how to hold, comes down to one forgotten compound, found in one seed, that the women in my village have been chewing every morning for 600 years. I'll show you exactly what it is in a moment. But first, you need to understand why it works. Because once you see the mechanism, you'll never look at another pad commercial the same way again. That seed is the humble pumpkin seed, the raw green pepitas you can pick up for just a few dollars at any grocery store. Now, your bladder isn't just a bag of muscle. It runs on a quiet conversation between nerves and tissues. Tiny signals that say, hold now or relax now. Sometime after 40, that conversation starts to fade. Like a faithful gatekeeper who has stood watch for decades, without the right nourishment. The gate doesn't slam shut the way it once did, and leaks slip through at the worst times. The compounds inside those pumpkin seeds, magnesium, zinc, essential fatty acids, and special plant sterols, they act like fresh oil for that old gate. Magnesium calms the overeager bladder muscle, so it doesn't twitch and leak at a cough or a laugh. The fatty acids rebuild the soft cushioning around the pelvic floor, making the whole area more supple, more responsive. And those plant sterols? They gently wake up the signaling pathways that got drowsy over the years. It isn't magic. It is nutrition the body has been missing, delivered in the exact form it recognizes. This is why nothing else ever worked for long. Kegels try to force strength onto a system that is running on empty. Pills numb the nerves, but never feed them. Creams and pads only mop up the spill, while the gatekeeper stays tired and hungry. Nothing you tried reached the real conversation your bladder was trying to have. In the old ways, we have always understood this. The body remembers how to work when it gets the right simple foods every single day. Nothing complicated, just consistent support for the exact place that forgot. This is the first thing I give the women who sit across from me. And for some of them, it is the only thing they ever need. For others, I give one more small thing alongside it. And I will tell you about that in a few minutes. I've watched this pattern in hundreds of people over many years. When the real nourishment stays missing, every passing season makes it a little harder for the body to find its way back to natural control. It doesn't shout. It just quietly takes more and more of your freedom until one day the leaks feel normal. But they never have to be. I want to tell you now about one person who came to me, carrying the same quiet shame you might be feeling right now. Her name was Eleanor. She was 68, lived in Seattle, and she had spent 30 years teaching third grade. She loved nothing more than taking her little walking group out on the wooded trails near her home every Saturday morning. She had tried the exercises, the pads, the creams. She even talked to a specialist about a procedure. Nothing lasted. She told me she felt like her own body had turned against her. When she sat across from me, she looked tired in the eyes. The kind of tired that comes from years of pretending everything is fine. I gave her the same simple pumpkin seed practice I'm about to give you, along with the small daily drink I give all my patients to keep the leaks from circling back. She started the very next morning, chewing 2 heaping tablespoons of raw seeds slowly with her breakfast. Within 10 days, she noticed the urgency was quieter. By the end of 3 weeks, she walked an entire trail with her friends, and never once had to cut the hike short or cross her legs in panic. The leaks simply stopped showing up. She sent me a note a month later, said she had signed up for a longer trail walk, said she felt like the old Eleanor again, the one who could laugh loud and move free without calculating every step. That is what this does when the body finally gets what it has been asking for. Now let me show you exactly what I gave Eleanor, so you can do the same thing tonight with what you already have at home. First, go to the store or order online and get raw unsalted pumpkin seeds. The green ones called pepitas. You want them raw, not roasted and salted, because the heat takes away some of the living compounds your bladder needs. A small bag costs around $3 and will last you weeks. Every morning, right after you wake up, measure out 2 heaping tablespoons. Sit down at your table and chew them slowly, one small mouthful at a time. Yes, chew them. The saliva mixes with the oils and starts the absorption process before they even reach your stomach. If chewing is hard on your teeth, you can grind them into a fine powder in a small blender or coffee grinder and stir the powder into a half-cup of warm water or plain yogurt. Either way works. The important part is that you take them on an empty stomach, so the nutrients go straight to the tissues that need them. Do this every single morning for 21 days straight. No skipping. The body needs the steady daily signal to remember how to hold again. In the evening, you can take one smaller spoonful if you want, but the morning dose is the one that matters most, because that is when the bladder is waking up for the day. And while you do this, drink a full glass of plain water after the seeds. The magnesium works better when it has water to travel with. That is all. No fancy equipment, no expensive supplements, just the seed, chewed or powdered, every morning. The women in my village did it this way for centuries because it is simple and it works. They would gather the seeds fresh when they could, but the dried raw ones you buy today carry the same power. After the first week, many people notice the urgency softening. By the second week, the leaks start missing their cues. By the third week, the body has usually remembered the old conversation, and the gatekeeper is wide awake again. I have heard the same words from so many who finished this practice. One woman told me, "I sneezed in the kitchen and nothing happened. I just stood there smiling like an idiot." Another said, "I stood up fast from the couch to answer the phone, and there was no rush to the bathroom. I almost cried from relief." These are the quiet reports that come back to me, after people simply give their bodies the one thing it had been missing. So tonight, when this video ends, go find those seeds. Start tomorrow morning. You will feel the difference building day by day, and in 11 days you may already be laughing, without that old clench of fear. What I just gave you is real, and for many of you, it will be enough. The seeds will quiet the leaks within days. You will feel the old freedom returning, and you can close this video right now with my blessing and go live the rest of your week. If that is what you came for, take it. It is yours. But I want to talk for 2 more minutes to the women who have been here before, the ones who fixed something once and watched it come back 6 months later, the ones who have a quiet feeling that the leaks are not the whole story, that something underneath keeps pushing them to the surface. If that is you, sit with me a little longer. This is the part I tell the women who sit across from me in person after the seeds are working and they ask me the harder question: why did this show up in my body in the first place? What I have noticed over 40 years of watching women heal is that the leak itself is never alone. It travels with other small things. The way the body holds on to weight differently after menopause, the way sleep gets thinner, the way moods shift without warning. These are not separate problems. They are all the same conversation, and the conversation is about how the body metabolizes its hormones after a certain age. When that metabolism gets sluggish, the pelvic floor signaling gets sluggish too. The bladder is just the loudest part of a quieter imbalance. And what I have noticed underneath that every single time is the gut. The gut is where the body decides how to handle its hormones day by day. When the gut is tired, the hormones drift. When the hormones drift, the pelvic floor forgets. When the pelvic floor forgets, the leaks return. It is always this chain, always. The gut needs three simple things to settle the imbalance it sends out into the body. It needs good living bacteria. It needs the fiber those bacteria love to eat. And it needs the healing compounds they make once they are well fed. My grandmother gave us one drink every morning that delivered all three at once, and the women in my village drank it their whole lives. Kombucha, not as a trend, as food. When the gut is fed properly this way, the hormone metabolism steadies. And when the hormone metabolism steadies, the leaks stop circling back the way they have been. I make my own kombucha at home because I have the time and the knowledge. But for everyone watching online who can't brew their own, I give BoochBod Kombucha Gummies. The link is in the description, or you can search BoochBod Kombucha Gummies on Amazon. The seeds quiet the leaks. The kombucha is what keeps them from coming back. Together, they are what I give to every woman who walks through my door. Eleanor is back on those Saturday trails now, laughing with her walking group. No map of bathrooms in her head. No more crossing her legs before the funny stories. She got her life back. The same way you can get yours back. The same road is open to you. It is never too late. The body at 60, at 70, at 75 and 80 still knows how to do this work. It has been waiting to be given what it needs. If this helped you today, please subscribe so you never miss the next old answer we bring out into the light. Share the video with anyone you know who is still suffering in silence. And leave a comment below. Tell me how long you have been dealing with this, or what you noticed after your first morning with the seeds. I read every single one. Until next time.